Wednesday, 29th, the data shows 14% improvement in volume and a 7% decline in turnover. Remember, volume is in terms of how much shares are traded, but turnover is in terms of the monetary value of those shares, and those two things could differ. So in terms of the volume, we have improved by 14%, and in terms of turnover, we have dropped by 7%. The current market capitalization of the Uganda Securities Exchange is 19.7 trillion. That is the total value of equities or shares or stocks on this exchange. They are worth 19.7 trillion, which is a good figure there. And then in aggregate, only 5 Uganda Security Exchange listed equities participated in trading, ending the day with 5 gainers and 3 losers on the market. East African Breweries Limited led the gainers with an 8.59% share appreciation, closing at 3,813.25 shillings per share. And of course, he was followed by Centum Investment Company with a gain of about 3.05%, and MTN Uganda at about 1.64%, and KCB Group at 0.09%. On the losing side, however, we had Nation Media Group, which came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 5.03% at 516.94 per share. He was followed by Jubilee Holdings at 0.05%, and Kenya Airways at 0.04%, while Bank of Baroda recorded the highest volume traded at 207,650 shares that were traded as of yesterday. He was followed by Stanbic Bank Uganda, trading a volume of about 144,200 shares. MTN also recorded some volumes at 38,283. That was traded. Was the last trader at 10,700 shares only traded. Regarding the performance of the indices, the Uganda Stock Exchange All-Share Index, which is the benchmark index for the USE, increased by 19.44 points, and that is about 1.72% increase to close at a total of 1,149.56 points, representing a 1-week loss of 0.66%, a 4-week loss of 7.36%, and an overall year-to-date loss of 19.08%. The Uganda Security Exchange Local Company Index, which is the one that tracks performance of the domestic equities, also increased by 0.9% to reach 271.92 points, making it a 1-week loss of 0.6% and a 4-week loss of 3.55%, and a year-to-date loss of 16.24%. Generally, a slight improvement in the market as of yesterday. Now, if you want to start trading on the Uganda Securities Exchange, it's quite easy. Altex East Africa, who have been licensed by the Capital Markets Authority as on the market, have made it easy. With Zabo, you can now dial *292# using your MTN SIM card, of course, and definitely you will access securities, not just the equities, but all securities like the bonds and bills, with every included all over East Africa. And they will help you trade directly on the exchanges in East Africa as well, with the convenience of your mobile phone. No need to access the internet. All you need is your MTN phone and some Momo or mobile money on your MTN mobile money. And definitely you'll be able to transact directly from your mobile money onto the exchanges, the various exchanges. And this will be, of course, with the help and guidance of a few steps that will be very easy even when you don't have internet on your phone, even when you're using a button phone, access internet. That's the beauty that Altex has brought to the exchanges in East Africa, and of course it's continuing to expand and innovate and come up with all these brilliant ideas to increase accessibility, to increase the fact that various people, various classes of people can be able to trade. Of course, the sentiment, of course, here has been, and of course the stereotype that these people have that trade on the exchange is that the exchange is for rich people or people who have millions of money to invest. But that's not true. With a share at 6.2, anyone can buy shares. I mean, if it's at 6.2, meaning if at all I have 6,000, I can get 1,000 shares in National Insurance Corporation. So it's for everyone. It's for every Ugandan willing to put aside some money and contribute to the growth of a certain company that they think will make profits in the future, and then wait for the returns, or to trade their shares on the capital gain and gain money from such a venture. Of course, there are other brokers as well approach, and they will help you to trade on your behalf. You can also dial *165 #6, and of course you go to financial services and then Uganda Security Exchange, and they will help you access a stock broker licensed, of course, by the regulator, who is the Capital Markets Authority, Uganda, to be able to help you to trade. All you need probably is your ID, or that's now your national ID or your passport, and a few passport photos here and there. Definitely they will have you covered, and they will open for you a Central Securities account, that is a CSD account, where all your shares, all your securities are kept. And definitely it works like a bank account or any other account, but keeps securities. And so they will do that for you, and you will enjoy some of the benefits that other people that have already started enjoying. Let's look at the Nairobi Now Stock Exchange. Later on, of course, I'm going to peer into as well the Malawi Exchange. Something goes on in there at the Malawi Exchange, as well as the Nigeria Exchange. But let's first look at our neighbor here, that is the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, definitely, I will start by saying what I say here every day. It is the biggest exchange in East Africa. And of course, it offers world-class trading facilities and began in 1954 with a vast experience in the stock exchange business. It's one of the fastest growing exchanges as well. And with various investors, both foreign and local, the exchange has seen some growth years, and the Nairobi Stock Exchange operates under the jurisdiction of the Capital Markets Authority of Kenya, and is governed by an 11 board member director. And consequent of its IPO in 2014, it got demutualized and got listed on its exchange. And during its IPO, it was able to gather 627 million Kenyan shillings worth of shares, where it started off with that money. And now currently it's one of the companies or entities that are listed on the bourse there in Nairobi. And definitely it has the highest number of listings on the exchanges in East Africa, with 65 listings of equities and quite a number of the fixed income securities. Now, given the fact that Kenya has been going through some tough economic time regarding the weakening of the shillings, regarding losing a lot of money in crypto, the market has suffered recently. But we see today, according to the performance indicators, the index, the all-share index, that is the benchmark index for the Nairobi Securities Exchange, has gone up by 0.45 points. That is about 0.36% appreciation in points over the last 24 hours. And of course, I'm going to just check out here to just have a look at how this performance has been, over the last 24 hours. Now, by the beginning of this week, we were below 125 points, and we are still there, but we are now 125 mark. However, we see that this has been the record low since the week began, since 2017. If you remember, we monitored this performance and the index did not do quite well since 2017. This has been one of its worst performances ever. And of course, they have dedicated this to a number of points, which we shall share later. But we can see at least the curve now is coming up a little bit to the 125 mark. And definitely we are seeing some steady growth in the points here, monitoring all the listed companies. But looking back a little bit, we have been fluctuating since, of course, we crossed the 150 line in April, around May actually, 2022. We crossed the 150 points downwards to the 125, where we are lingering right now. But we can see before May 2022, the points were way above 150. And of course, between November 2021 to May 2022, we are seeing that the points were between 150 and 175. So the market was rendering itself viable at that time. And we see before, that is before October 2021, the markets were as high as, the index was as high as 175, between 175 and 195. That is where the curves were at the moment. But we see we are now down to 125 and still struggling. So this is just to give you a picture that the market in Kenya hasn't been doing well compared to the past couple of years, actually, the past 3 years. And we are seeing a very downward trend. However, just as the close of the market yesterday, we are seeing a little growth picking up there for several companies as probably they gain momentum as the new month begins. And also in Kenya today, the 1st of July, a financial year has just begun, a new financial year. So we are seeing a steady rise probably because business is now starting to replenish, their way of doing things, and seeing that more investors now could be coming on board to start investment. And as these are the foreign investors move out, we are seeing more of the local investors in Kenya pick the pieces and try to pick themselves up and see the market go up again. That is a little bit of how the all-share index on the Nairobi Stock Exchange actually performed. We're looking at the benchmark performance, the benchmark index performance. Now, by the close of the market yesterday, we had 15 gainers, top gainers, and 5 bottom losers. And of course, we shall see the data there. But I would like to share also that Nairobi Stock Exchange maintains their 4 market segment with 4 segments. That is the main market segment that includes large enterprises like Safaricom, like KCB and ABSA and all the other bigger institutions. They also have an alternate investment market, which is the market for the medium companies, not very large, not very small, but medium companies. They also have the fixed income securities segment. Of course, these are fixed incomes. That is treasury bonds and the treasuries that are listed. And of course, there also includes the corporate bonds there for the fixed income securities market segment. The last segment is the growth enterprise segment. And this is my favorite segment, the growth enterprises market segment, which includes listings for the small enterprises that are looking to list on the exchange and gain capital and expand. And why is this very interesting? In Africa and in East Africa, we have way more small enterprises than the large businesses. So if they start listing on the exchange, it's a very healthy thing, not only for the exchange, but as well as the economy as a whole, because definitely this listing on the exchange is a sign of growth. That is number one. It's a sign of improvement in doing business, how business is done, and definitely a good sign of future prospects in terms of the market performance. Now, in 2013, that's when the growth enterprise segment was launched to give small enterprises an opportunity to also access capital via the capital markets. Remember, the show is not just for investors and investor education. It's also for businesses looking at gaining capital. You don't have to go and borrow a loan with the whooping interest rates that we are seeing right now on the market, given the fact that right now interest rates are very high, bank charges are very high, and so it's quite risky for you to go to the bank right now to get a loan. You would rather list on the exchange, and definitely this growth enterprise segment is as well on the Ugandan Security Exchange, but not many companies definitely have responded to that, probably due to lack of information or lack of interest in trying to actually find out what it takes. Now, let's look at the performance, actual performance as per the close of the market yesterday. Absa Bank of Kenya gained by 0.15, and I think Absa has been gaining since the week began. It has been on a steady trend, upward trend, and it traded a volume of about 9,400. I'll just mention the gainers first. British American Tobacco Kenya was another gainer at 7.25 Kenyan shillings, gaining to a price of 415. Then CIC Insurance Group Limited was another gainer, gaining by about 0.02 Kenyan cents to a price of about 2.12. Then Cooperative Bank of Kenya was another gainer, gaining by about 0.1 Kenyan cents to about 11 cents. Then Centum Investment Company was another gainer at 0.22. Now you can see Centum gained on the Ugandan market, but as well gained on the Nairobi market. What is interesting here is that when you're investing in Centum on the Ugandan market, it's not like you're investing in Centum on the Nairobi market. You are different investors, yeah? It's like you're two different investors. So don't mistake this from the Uganda Security Exchange. No, you can separately invest in Centum here on the Ugandan exchange, and also separately invest in Centum on the Nairobi exchange. And definitely, as I said, OTEX is giving you an opportunity to do that by your mobile phone. By simply dialing *292#. Then another gainer was Diamond Trust Bank of Kenya. That is gaining at about 0.05 cents to about 50 cents. And then Kenyan cents. We are talking Kenyan shillings here. East African Breweries also gained on the market yesterday at 1.75, which is, I think, a good thing for East African Breweries here, who has been going down since the week began, and of course now is picking up. And then those were the gainers. Then we had other gainers like KCB Group, who gained at 0.35. Then KenGen PLC, who gained at 0.06. Then Kenya Reinsurance Corporation gaining at 0.02. And Kenya Power Lighting and Lighting Company gaining at about 0.06. And of course, Safaricom was also another gainer at 0.05. And then Standard Group, that is Standard Chartered, group of companies, gained at about 0.25. Then Wumeme, yes, Wumeme is cross-listed from Uganda on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, was one of the gainers as well at 0.12. Then Williamson T Kenya was another gainer at 7. Now let's look at the losers. There were not so many losers, about 5 losers. And leading the losers was, one of the losers was Britam Holdings Limited at 0.1 decline in price. These are Kenyan cents, you remember. Then Ever Ready East Africa was another loser on the market at 0.04. Then Nairobi Business Ventures was another loser at 0.15 depreciation. Then Standard Chartered Bank at 0.15. The other one was Standard Group. But Standard Chartered Bank was a loser at 0.5. And Total Kenya Limited was another loser at 0.95 depreciation. And Uchumi Limited was Uchumi was actually not any loser or gainer on the market. Now, let's look at the trading summary of the day. The day closed at the Nairobi Stock Exchange with a total of 13,486,200 shares that were, of course, traded in 10,051 deals. And that corresponded to a market value of 400,890,514 Kenyan shillings. That's over 400 million Kenyan shillings in just a single trading day. Compared with the previous Nairobi Stock Exchange trading day, that is Wednesday, the 29th of June, the data shows a 50% improvement in volume, a 25% improvement in turnover, and a 4% improvement in deals that were traded, that were met on the market yesterday. The current market capitalization of the Nairobi Securities Exchange is 1.94 trillion Kenyan shillings. Remember, ours stands at about 19.8 trillion Ugandan shillings. Now the Kenyan market stands at 1.94 trillion Kenyan shillings. And in aggregate, we had about 45 Nairobi Stock Exchange listed equities out of the 65 participating in trading, ending with 24 gainers and 19 losers by the close of the market yesterday. And the Express Kenya led the gainers at 9.8%. Share price appreciation closing at 3.25 Kenyan shillings per share. He was followed by Olympia Capital Holdings at 9.52% appreciation. East African Cables followed next at 8.43% appreciation, and the East African Breweries followed at 8.07% appreciation, while on the losing side, we had East African Portland Cement Company came out last with an end of day depreciation of 8.68% at 8 Kenyan shillings per share. He was followed by Samia Africa, then Williamson Tea Kenya, and the Scan Group, and as well as Safaricom. Safaricom was a gainer, but Safaricom recorded the highest volume of about 8.55 million shares that were traded in just a single day, followed by Ken Group for at 1.27 million, and Diamond Trust Bank at 1.27 million, while Equity Group Holdings traded 1.02 million. Regarding the performance of the Nairobi Stock Exchange benchmark index, that is the Nairobi Stock Exchange All Share Index, it increased by 1.64 points, like I already mentioned, and about a 1.34% drop, 1.34% increase in points, at 124.47 points, representing a 1 week loss of 5.22%. That is the stock market there in Nairobi. Of course, this data is as per the close of the market yesterday. And right now the market is open and people are trading and things are changing. So this is not what you can rely on in order to trade. But of course, it just indicates the performance of the previous day and can be able to give you what you can do for business today if you're trading on the stock market. We're going into a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.